What is up, New York Giants fans, Big Blue Nation? It's Robin Donald. This is Nerding Out Sports, and I have a very weird feeling right now in me. I don't know how to feel. The Giants tie the Commanders 20-20 in overtime in what may have been one of the worst coached games. A game that they coached, what seemingly looked like they were coaching to lose. They were playing to lose this game today. And even with that, they had chances, multiple chances to win, and couldn't get the job done. I mean, where do we start with here, Donald? What's a good starting point in this one? Because I've never experienced a tie in my lifetime, I don't think, with this Giant team.
I'm just trying to decide how I feel. I'm edging towards feeling pretty freaking badly about it. I think if you're to decide whether this was stock up or stock down, this is stock down. It wasn't particularly. It was a sloppy game. I don't think the Giants deserved to win. I thought their pass rush deserved to win. Their pass rush was really good. Ojulari was really good. And Tibbs had that huge sack. That was a big moment. So yeah, the pass rush was there. Dex got a sack, got a strip sack, forced fumble from Aziz. So those are the positives. But our secondary didn't deserve to win the game, in my opinion. I thought that Dotson's spin move on McLeod was like something I'd see from Madden. What I would do with him on my PS4 joystick. I thought that Moreau got roasted by McLaurin for a good portion of the game. I thought the guy that we pulled up from the practice squad got cooked in the fourth quarter. So I don't think our secondary really deserved to win the game. But most of all, our coaching staff didn't deserve to win the game. Apart from Wink Martindale, who was going to basically get a pass for the rest of the year, he's getting a pass from me, man. Like, I am never going to say a bad word about Wink Martindale because that coach has been pulling rabbits out of his hat since week one. but I think we can focus on Brian Dable's bizarre time management, especially in overtime, and Mike Kafka's bizarre play calling, which continues to confound. It makes no sense to me. Some of the decision making, I don't quite know what the strategy is from the offense, and frankly, the way our offense played, it was kind of pitiful, and it didn't really merit a win, in my opinion. It was too sloppy, and then the final icing on the cake was when Breida and Richie James ran into each other on 3rd and 2, and all we needed was a first down, and we basically, sort out the game. We'd probably kick the field goal and win the game. Daniel Jones kind of got stuck in between the two of them, and then it was just terrible indecision from all three. And it just kind of summed up the way the Giants played in this game. I thought everybody at one point or another took turns to be incompetent on offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I want to kind of give a little pass to Jones because even after that fumble, I think he played a really good game. After that fumble, I think he played well enough. I wouldn't put this – I don't want to try to making excuses for him, but you think about that drop by Slayton there at the end of the game, towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter. That was a really good throw. That could have sealed the deal. But at the same time, he didn't play well enough to win you the game. But I do think he played okay. Considering what I thought he was going to do today, I think I was very close on my prediction stat-wise. But I don't know what to think about Kafka anymore. I said in the pre-show, I don't think I can give him too much like flack right now because we're working with such a limited group of playmakers. But the fact that they don't trust Daniel Jones, and this is what you texted to me, they don't trust him to throw the ball for 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, bomb, bomb, bomb. So it's like you didn't want to do that for 3 quarters and for a whole game after you threw one to Slayton last week. Now you want to do it 3 plays in a row, and it's just weird play calling. Then again, they have that pitch out to Barkley that loses you 3 yards. It's a play that doesn't work anymore. It hasn't worked all game. It hasn't worked for the last few weeks, and they keep trying it. You're moving backwards. You're getting stupid penalties. John Feliciano should be cut.
Oh.
We just don't have any other linemen at the moment, so he was forced to play. And you can literally say he cost the Giants the game. As bad as that game was for this offense, they had the win in the bag several times. The Washington Commanders said, we don't want it. And then the Giants said, no, we don't want it. And the Commanders said, no, we don't want it. And then they both said, we both don't want it. So let's just play for the tie. Because that's what they did.
Sums it up.
It was such an ugly game. It was so ugly. And I don't think any team deserved to win this game. So I think a tie is actually fitting for the way that it was played there.
I really do agree with that. I don't think any team deserved to win it. I thought Washington clearly didn't want it. And I think the Giants wanted it potentially even less because they had the most opportunities and they just kept screwing it up. Feliciano. I mean, what about when – yeah, so obviously the 3 huge long bombs from Jones was obviously bizarre. Obviously one was slightly out of Slayton's reach. And Slayton probably could have pulled that down, but it was a little high. But what about when Daniel Jones almost threw an interception? And late in the 4th quarter, it was right in the hands of I was going to say the Skins player, the Commanders player. And had they caught that, then the game would have ended anyway. So I'm not giving Jones a pass either. I thought that he was okay, but I mean, very, very safe. The game was incredibly safe. The only thing that I'll give him a pass for was I thought he created opportunities with his legs. He was great. By far, our best weapon on offense was his legs. But he just played a very safe, check down game where it was, he only threw it like 19 times or whatever, 24 times, but a lot of passes were actually in overtime. It was incredibly safe. A lot of check downs, very safe routes. He had one big throw to Slayton, which was great, and then 3 heaves that were incomplete. Then obviously the fumble was the stupidest fumble you could ever ask for. So, I mean, my stock isn't particularly up on Jones either. I don't think anyone particularly played great. I thought Slayton probably deserves the biggest pass for, although he didn't make that drop, but in other words, he made one big catch. Apart from that, Bellinger was okay. Hodgins was okay. Offensive line was okay. I thought Gates was good.
As usual.
But Feliciano was freaking horrible.
Feliciano, I don't know if he deserves to be here anymore. I don't think he should after that because, again, as ugly as everything that we've already described, you had the win right there because that was at their, 45-yard line or something like that. It was a 12-yard gain that got erased. So it was at the 47 and knocked you back to the 50. So you can't have that. And I don't know what he's flexing at. Like, what are you doing? Just wait till the game's over. You got a chance for the field goal. Yeah, what are you taunting for? They're calling taunting left and right now in the NFL. And they're just waiting for someone to do something so they can throw that flag because of these new rules. And this idiot decides to do it after what would have been probably the game-deciding play because all you have to do is just run the ball a few times, get a few yards, run some clock. You go up by 10 and you trust your defense. And if you blow a 10-point lead, oh well. With how conservative they were calling the game and how poorly they were calling the game, you live with a 10-point lead at that point. And they just threw it away. They gave it right back to the Commanders, and the Commanders tied it but didn't win it. So it's a tie. It kind of doesn't hurt us in the standings because now the Commanders, we have to beat them in 2 weeks again. But had we lost this game, it would have really hurt our playoff chances. This doesn't really kill it as much as a loss would. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
I don't think is great. I don't know how to feel about ties in football because we don't really get anywhere with it. It doesn't really do anything, but at least it isn't a loss. But I have to say, it kind of felt like a loss.
Yeah, that I can agree with.
So obviously, the play calling was a big issue from Kafka, basically all game long. So it started off in the first half, where they were incredibly over conservative, and it merited boos. Remember?
Yep.
They were just basically running the ball and playing very, very safe, and it was just very, very strange. What did you think about the first instance of the bizarre play calling?
Yeah, I'm looking at the first drive right now. I mean, they pick up 3, then 9, then 5, and then Jones runs for 5 yards and then fumbles.
Right.
Then they get the ball back on the second drive and they start with a run. Then you get sacked. Then they throw a screen that got you maybe a yard.
Yeah.
Right. So then you have to punt. And you're immediately down 10-0, but then they start moving the football again.
Yeah.
On the very next drive. So it's like they wait until they're down to start, let's dial things up. Like, why not do that early on? Now, maybe they were going to do that if not for the fumble, but it's just weird. And then you think about at the end of the half when you have a chance to, push it downfield and they play it conservatively.
Very conservative.
I would like to see Dable, because we were all praising Dable. It's like, this guy's got balls on him. He's not afraid to take these risks. And then you're seeing him over these last few weeks. He's really kind of dipping into his Joe Judge book, and he's playing very conservative. And I don't know if it's that they don't trust the offense, but I feel like that's what got us a few wins. Even with the lack of playmakers and talent, we were still trusting these guys to go out and make plays.
Yeah.
I just wish they would take a few more chances. I wish we would have played for the win in overtime instead of playing for the tie. Obviously.
They played for field goals, man. They set out for field goals. They were not trying to score. It didn't look like they were trying to score basically all game long. It looked like they're just playing for field goals. Very, very safe. And when you play not to lose, you lose. And that tie felt like a loss to me, just considering we blew it. We blew that game. We had numerous opportunities to win that game. At no point, after we were, obviously at first it looked like we were going to get our asses handed to us, right? We're 10-zip down, didn't look too good. But then after that, the Giants completely dominated the game. Washington did nothing. Nothing. After the first quarter, they did nothing until there was about 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
That was it. That was it. For basically 3 quarters, the Giants had the game to themselves if they wanted it. But they didn't want it. There was some errant throws. There was some bad decision-making, bad play calling. The secondary getting cooked when we really needed them to not get cooked. I mean, you texted me that you thought the game was over when they tied it. It did feel like that. I didn't feel like the Giants were going to come back and win the game, even though they had numerous opportunities after that to win it. It just didn't feel like it. They just kind of looked, I don't know. There was just something not right about this game. It felt drab. It felt dead. Apart from our pass rush. I loved our pass rush.
Yeah, me too. And we can talk about some positives in just a moment, but even with how ugly it was, the fact that you just could not win this game, and we know that a penalty is the main reason for it. You had the play right there, and this I'm going to keep thinking about. There's a couple of plays that stick in my mind of games that the Giants have lost, or in this case, tie. You think about Richie James fumbling in Seattle. That cost us a chance to win that game. You think about Kayvon Thibodeau missing the sack on Dak Prescott last week. That costs a chance to maybe stick closer. Who knows what happens the rest of the way through. And now today, you think if John Feliciano just doesn't flex, he doesn't do this, the Giants win this game. That's what it's coming to? Because I feel like every week now I'm finding different excuses, and I don't want to be doing that, but it's just little stupid things that the Giants do, and they do this every week. I don't think there's been a game this year where we haven't had an illegal man downfield, first of all. We're committing stupid penalties left and right. And this was the dumbest one of all. Had it been like a chop block or something, you'd be like, or he's holding and it negates a big play. You're like, well, that happens almost every play. But it's the fact that it was a completely avoidable taunting call, whatever the hell they called on the play. He just don't do this. Run up to Slayton, be like, good catch, and get back to the huddle because the game's in the bag at that point. Washington wasn't doing anything, like you said. We had it in control. The defense was fired up, and they were on the field all day.
Yep.
So this is going to live in my mind forever now. Like it's, you just think about it. That's the difference between us being 8-4 and said we're 7-4-1.
Well, but also the weird use of timeouts. So how did you feel about them just randomly calling that timeout in overtime, the second and final timeout, when it kind of left the Giants with very little time to do anything?
It would have saved them about 20, 25 seconds or something like that, around that, somewhere from 20 to 25 seconds, which meant everything considering you could have gotten a few yards closer for Gano to win that game. Because asking him to kick a 58-yarder in that scenario and expecting him to hit it, that's very tough ask. So I'm not going to put any sort of blame on Graham Gano at all. It was a very strange timeout because I think he thought they were going to throw the ball on third down, but it's like they're so deep in their territory and they're already showing you they're playing for the tie as well here. You got to keep that timeout.
And also, if you noticed, didn't it feel like they actually waited like 10, 15 seconds before suddenly calling a timeout?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't immediate. So like, first of all, calling the timeout in the first place was a mistake, but the fact that they waited about 10, 15 seconds and then called the timeout, I mean, that 10, 15 seconds, that's two plays. You know, that's probably a screen pass down the field. You could have had a Saquon draw play up the middle
and then
5 or 6 yards.
Yeah.
That was the difference. It was strange. I didn't understand. Like, what were they? I was trying to work out what Daboll's rationale was in that scenario.
It had to have been because he thought they were going to throw, which again they
didn't make any sense. Why would they do that?
Exactly, because that first play where Tibbs got the sack, you're like, okay, well now they have to play for the tie.
Exactly.
Washington has to play for the punt and hope that you force a fumble on the punt or something. That's what Washington was playing for because you can't expect them. We got to go 99 yards essentially to win this game. We got to go 70 yards or whatever to get in range. You can't expect them to do that with the little time that was left, especially after a play like that. They were playing for the tie. You had the game once again in your hands, and Daboll waiting. I don't get it. You're absolutely right. He waited so long to call that timeout, and it's just why has the coaching kind of at least two coaches? Daboll has certainly regressed since the start of the season, which I'm gonna pass him a little bit because it's a rookie head coach. He's learning. I get that, but he's also been around the game for a very long time. You got to use that timeout. Either use it immediately or don't use it at all and save it. And that's another one of the many things you can point at. If you want to make a list up and down, you can get a sheet of paper, write them all down. What was the reason the Giants lost this game? You can write a book because they had plenty of reasons why they lost this game or tied. Still feels weird saying tie. So many issues and just a badly played game, badly coached game on the offensive side and by the head coach. And even Jamie Gillen had some good punts early, and then his last punt was terrible, and it could have potentially given Washington a chance to win the game, or second to last punt. It was such a strange game and so oddly coached.
It was oddly coached. Wink Martindale is the only coach that leaves with a passing mark, as far as I'm concerned. To be honest, of all the coaches on the field from both sides, I think Wink Martindale was the only one that leaves with his head held high. That's one of the big step ups, though, for a new NFL head coach is to learn about clock management, and I think this is going to be something that needs to be fixed going into next year. Obviously, with all of his experience, he's always had experience, but he's never had experience with clock management, and that's something that's been kind of a bugaboo for Giant coaches for a long time. You know, it goes right back to McAdoo. It goes to Pat Shermer, who had no idea when to call timeout. Not a clue. Joe Judge was the worst clock manager I have ever seen. And I'll tell you what, Dable took a leaf out of his book today because there was nothing that made sense today in terms of time management.
No, and even the later years of Coughlin's tenure, like his clock management 2015 specifically, his clock management literally cost the Giants the first 3 games of the season, something like that. The first 2 games especially. But
right.
It's been going on for a while, and I thought we wouldn't see that. And I thought this, at the very least, knowing that you don't have a lot of talent, that you want to see this team be very well organized and not make stupid mistakes. And since we've started losing some games now and playing a lot more sketchy football, we're seeing those mistakes really start to ramp up. Stupid penalties, bad calling, bad play calling, bad coaching, where you're going, what was Dable doing? Earlier in the season, you're like, okay, I'm going to let Dable do his thing because it's working. Yeah. Now you're like, dude, what are you doing? Even though we know this is a transition year, it's a rebuilding year, you have a chance to do something really, really special right now and go to the playoffs. What are you doing? Why are you making these calls? Like, why are we calling this kind of an offense when the game is in our hands every single time we get the football in the fourth quarter? I don't want to feel this way because I know that this team has already exceeded expectations to a point. But when you get here and you're seeing this happen in such, which we're calling a playoff game, they're saying this is the biggest game in 6 years for the Giants, and you're seeing it be played and coached like this, you're like, you have no choice but to feel very upset.
I just disagreed with everything that the Giants did. I just look at it like when you think about this, the first throw. Let's go back to those 3 crazy throws. Obviously, the first throw was high. Slayton should have held on to it, but it was a little too high. Second one, it looked like they went hunting for defensive pass interference because it didn't look like a catchable ball in my opinion. So that was the second one. The third one, Daniel Jones literally just threw right into double coverage and it should have been intercepted. So like that was just bizarre. And I'm just reading here, Brian Dable said that John Feliciano was actually flexing at Darius Slayton on his crucial taunting penalty, telling him strong play, but the officials misinterpreted it. Obviously, we shouldn't be in that situation, he said. Well, obviously, we shouldn't be in that situation. I still put that on Feliciano. I have no idea why you'd even do that.
Exactly. You know they're throwing that flag for anything that comes remotely. Because he ran through command. I read Stapleton's tweet. He ran through the Commanders players and then flexed. So who knows if he said something on the way through the players. Like he could have said, go F yourself or that's effing game, whatever. He probably cursed at them and then the ref said, well, here's a flag for you, buddy. And so he probably said something on top of it, went and flexed, and still, whether it was directed towards Slayton or not, don't do it. Just don't do it. That's the game right there. That play is literally the ball game. And it's going to be that play that sticks in your mind. Like last year, Darius Slayton dropping it against Washington. That cost us a win. The year before, Evan Ingram's drop against Philadelphia, which would have put us in the playoffs had he made that catch. There's always that one play. Is the John Feliciano flex going to be what potentially keeps us out of the postseason this year?
Yeah, but I think it was much deeper than that. I felt the play that killed us was, in fact, I thought it was Breida. It was actually Saquon. Saquon, Richie James, and Daniel Jones doing a kind of a 3-way collision on 3rd and 2 when all you needed was 2 yards to get that first down and you would have kicked the field goal to win the game. That was the most bizarre, and it just kind of summed up our offense to me. I just kind of went, like, I just didn't even react. I was just like, I'm so numb
I laughed.
to incompetence that has been going on for years, that just didn't surprise me. I thought it was a bizarre play call for one. I don't know why they were trying to be that. Another one, that's Kafka again. Why were they trying to be so cute on 3rd and 2? Stop being cute.
Just
What
run.
are you trying to do?
If you can't trust Saquon Barkley to get 2 yards, what are we doing?
Exactly. A fake running back handoff, and then they all just ran and collided into each other, and then Jones didn't really help either. It was all just kind of a mess. I don't know what to think. I'm stocked down right now on the Giants. I have to be honest. I just there was very little that I actually liked. I loved our pass rush. That was it. I didn't like our secondary. I didn't love our quarterback, even though his numbers statistically, well, no, not in terms of yardage, but like it was very safe and it was okay. The fumble was terrible, but I didn't think he played particularly well. Saquon didn't play particularly well. He had that two great runs. That was about it. And Slayton obviously had a terrible drop, but was still getting himself open fairly well apart from that. And Hodgins was good. Andrew Thomas was great. Gates was great. That was it as far as I'm concerned. Glowinski's terrible. Feliciano's terrible. I mean, in the offseason, you're already looking at minimum of 2 receivers, maybe even 3. You might need a quarterback. I'm starting to think that we do need a quarterback. Definitely need about 3 offensive linemen. Well, minimum 2. And you need multiple corners. And that's just to start with. And you need a middle linebacker, an outside, inside linebacker. So, like, we kind of knew the problems that were ahead of us. And, again, take the long view. Doesn't affect us too much. But, boy, these kind of games, man, so incompetently coached from Mike Kafka. No strategy. And just terrible mistakes, bizarre mistakes. That we're very, very fortunate that Washington were as bad as we were, because any other team would have capitalized on that. So we got very lucky. Very, very lucky.
You're right. We're very lucky this wasn't Philly. This wasn't Dallas, because they would have smoked us at that point. And, last week you came out of the game saying you took it as kind of a win because they were severely outmanned and they put up a fight until basically the very end. This week you can't say that because we were healthier. We were at home. And we had a chance to win a game that looked like it was going to be an ugly loss. I texted you after it was 7-0. I'm like, I feel a blowout. I literally felt it was going to be a blowout, and it didn't happen. It wasn't a blowout. We had the game in the bag, and we blew it. I can't feel good about this. Yeah, I feel fantastic about our pass rush. Azeez looked fantastic today.
He looks great.
He looked great. Dexter Lawrence once again. Thibodeau looked really good once again. Even Justin Ellis had a sack. The pass rush looked great. We're still down our number 1 corner and our best safety. So we know that the secondary is going to be very Swiss cheese until these guys get healthy. But they're still not playing bad enough that it's costing you big chunks and points. You're giving up yards, absolutely, but they're not giving up 30 points right now with the weakened secondary. I think having Moreau back was a good thing, but he didn't play it particularly well. And I also don't know why we didn't see a lot of Rhodey out there. Rodarius Williams did not start this game, which was strange to me.
What about Darnay Holmes being inactive?
I think he was he sick or was he late at, because like the half the team was getting hurt with illness, getting stuck with illness this past 3 days.
Really? Okay, but I mean,
I don't know if the flu was going around.
Darnay Holmes. I was wondering whether there was something more to that, because Darnay Holmes was getting cooked for weeks now. So I was wondering whether they just finally had enough of him. But I can't say we missed him.
No. And here's a stat. The Giants only had 3 first downs the entire 3rd and 4th quarter. And I think most of them came on like that last drive, or like the second to last drive where they went backwards. It might have been on that Feliciano taunt that they actually had first downs and it got taken away.
That's what I'm saying. I just thought the entire offense was incompetent.
You're absolutely right. I can't argue that.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like we were getting it together in overtime. We were finally moving the ball. But then that dumb play where they tried to get too cute and they ran into each other, that cost us. We should have had it. We should have won it over, and we should have won it in overtime at least twice. we should have won it at the end of the fourth quarter. Like, just bizarre game. I don't think I've ever seen the Giants tie a game before.
I don't think I have either. And Washington had 41 minutes time of possession.
What?
41 minutes. The Giants finished with, I just had the stat, 28.
I was trying to work out why I was so apathetic, because I should have been jumping around going nuts watching this game, because it was a tight game and it was going right to the end, but I was semi-apathetic. I just wonder whether the quality of play was that bad that it kind of affected my morale watching it. Well, the Commanders had the ball for the entire game. So it was like, but I just felt kind of apathetic. It was hard to get excited. I didn't. There was nothing to be excited about offensively, and I just saw so many problems with our offense that I almost didn't trust any positive play that we made was going to end up in anything positive was going to happen. It was sort of like how I'd felt for the last couple of years, where like, well, they're just going to give this back because they're going to do something stupid. And it just looks like the Giants of old have finally come back after a really nice run of well over half a season where it was the old Giants again. And it was great. But now the Giants that we've been knowing for a long time came back and bit us in the ass. Old habits die hard, I guess. That's the only way I can put this tie game.
It's fitting that it happened on Legacy Day, because every time we seem to celebrate something of the past, they do this. I mean, we did not play a good game against the Bears when we won wearing the jerseys, but that was a very ugly game as well. Mm-hmm. So maybe they should stop trying to honor things and just say, hey, we're wearing alternate jerseys today. And maybe things will go a little bit differently. I don't know, but it seems like every time they do this,
I still love those jerseys. That helmet is gorgeous, man. They need to make that the permanent helmet. It just is just beautiful.
It is very beautiful. I wish they wear it more, but I also wanted to stop labeling stuff. You know, let's pay homage to the Giants of old by playing what is probably the ugliest game we've seen all season. So.
I know all the old pros will be watching that going, Jesus, I could sit up and play better.
Probably Eli was in the house, Victor Cruz is in the house, and you're just thinking, I wonder what Eli was thinking.
You could maybe just substitute them in a little bit. Just a couple of subs, just if you wouldn't mind.
Let's do something. But let's try to get some positive in here, because let's talk about this pass rush.
Yeah, great.
First game back for Azeez Ojulari, and the impact he had. He had the sack, forced fumble, but he was all over the place. He was bringing pressure like the way Thibodeau's been bringing pressure all season. This is his first game, and everyone was like, I wonder what he's going to be. Can we expect too much out of him? And I think you can, because he looked fantastic. It looked like he did not miss a beat. This was Azeez from last year. This is what he was doing a season ago. He was fantastic today, and I think now you get him and Thibodeau both getting a sack in the same game. This is what we've been dreaming about all season long. These two guys making plays, big plays that could have affected the outcome. It certainly affected the outcome and prevented us from losing, but both guys stepped up. But Azeez, man, I'm so glad he's back out there.
I mean, you could make the argument that was the most effective pass rush game that we've had all year. I think it was. I think that was our best pass rush we've had all year. Certainly statistically. And I also think that Ojulari's performance was probably the best that we've had from an edge rusher this year. He was fire. Absolute fire. I mean, Wink did say that he is our best pure pass rusher that we have, Ojulari. And he proved it, man. He absolutely proved it. Much to be proud of he was dominant. He was dominant out there. He caused mayhem. He could have actually had a couple more sacks, but he was causing mayhem. And I really like this matchup because Heineke's not a particularly good out of the pocket. He's a much worse passer under pressure, and that's why we dialed it up, man. And Wink just dialed it up. We went all-out blitz on third down in the fourth quarter, and it worked. And Ojulari was just getting in behind numerous times, just causing absolute mayhem. So if you're looking for a positive, it was our pass rush. It was nice to see Dexter Lawrence getting in there. I don't think their running game did much. Robinson had a couple of moments, but in general, I think we shut down the run.
Yeah. Even on that fourth down play where Heineke just spun and hit the fourth down play, I think it was to Samuel that saved that drive and got them in the end zone eventually. Azeez was there. They were bringing pressure. They forced him out of the pocket. What more can you ask them to do besides get the sack? And he threw up a prayer, and he got his prayer answered. We got a comment here from Ronnie Rivers. I'm sorry. Thank you for commenting. Hey, listen, these teams were a perfect match. Kafka play calling was not good, and it showed. We've been saying the whole show.
Yeah, it was perfectly matched. That's right.
Perfectly matched. Also, we should have put this game away. Yep. Stop playing that cute offensive crap.
It was very cute. That play call on 3rd and 2, where they all ran into each other, was definition of cute. I don't know why we've gone away from aggressive and we've just started to settle on playing for field goals and playing cute. That's the stuff that got Joe Judge in trouble last year. And I don't want to see it happen again this year. I'm seeing the signs. I've been seeing the signs over the last 3 weeks, and it's something that needs to be fixed. It really worries me that instead of being in a position where with a minute left in a half or at the end of the game, or even in overtime, instead of being aggressive going, we got to score, we're like, hey, if we're lucky, let's try and sneak a field goal. And when you're doing that, only bad things happen. And that's just you get rewarded. Luck tends to reward you, for being aggressive.
Exactly.
It really is. Just look at Dable going for 2 when we won the game earlier this year.
Very first week.
That was right. That's right. And fortune favors the brave. Is that saying that's a timeless saying that goes for everybody in all walks of life, and it includes football. Fortune favors the brave. The Giants didn't play brave. They played cute and scared, and they have done since the Seattle game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They've been playing very safe. Today they played to tie, which you never want to do. I'm not even going to talk about Washington's side because we know they also played to tie, but that was only after Thibodeau put them in that position. They were probably going to go for the win, and then Thibodeau said, no, we still want it a little bit. And then Dable said, I don't know. I think a tie is okay here because that's really what it looked like. Dable needs to get Kafka's butt about his calling these stupid plays. Donald's been mentioning it the last couple of weeks now that maybe Dable should get his hands in the play. Yeah, get his hands in the play calling a little bit. Blue City Empire popping in. Welcome. He says, don't even know what to say. Yeah, look, this is probably the most confused I've been on a post game. I just don't know.
I'm going to ask you two guys, Ronnie and Blue City, stock up or stock down after the tie? Are you happy that we've not lost any ground, or are you taking it as an L? I'm taking it as an L. Rob, how are you taking it?
I gotta take this as an L.
Yeah, I'm taking it as an L. Okay, you guys put it. You guys put it in the chat. What you think?
Ronnie says the only good thing is we'll let better team prep to win. Yeah, next week we play Philly. I don't know how. If we play remotely close to this against Philly, they're going to.
Did you see what Philly did to Tennessee's defense? Now, Tennessee have a good defense, and they massacred them.
Yeah. if this is going to prepare them, it better prepare them for slaughter, because if they play like this next week, it's going to be a slaughter. And we're probably going to lose by about 20 at the very least. Blue City says I'm taking it as a question mark.
I kind of understand. I'm just sort of like, I don't know what to think.
I got to look it up. When was the last time the Giants actually tied? Because I do not remember there being one in my lifetime.
I do remember, but I was a kid. And that was back when the Giants were not a good team. So, yeah, it was a long, long time ago.
Blue Empire says, do we even care about the Giants playing against the Eagles? This game is still confusing. I mean, what are we else? Giants have a tie with Washington since 97. So, okay. So
97, that's right. I said I was a kid. I was 13 years old. I remember listening to it.
I wasn't even watching football at that point. So I was 5 years old. Ronnie says, taking it as a loss will allow us to take a good look at readjusting this offensive line. Yeah, let's talk about this line for a second, because we mentioned Thomas. He's fantastic. Nick Gates can play whatever position they want him to. He's going to be fine. We need Bredesen back. We need Izudu back. I never thought I'd be saying that, but we need him back. And Evan Neal looked fine his first game back.
Yeah, he did fine.
I think with Bredesen back in the fold, we don't have to look too much at other positions. Bredesen was doing just fine, but Nick Gates has to be your center moving forward.
Yep.
If Bredesen's back next week, you absolutely can't have Feliciano playing against Philadelphia.
So, Gates is center moving forward. That's a tick. Feliciano, X. Thomas, super duper tick. In fact, extend him. Right guard is just kind of a mess. Glowinski, he's been bad.
Very bad.
He's an X. Neal, yes. So, tick. So, we need left guard, right guard as a starter going on next year in the offseason.
It sucks because Bredesen was playing really well. So I think if he could get back to that form, you might not have to push for two guards, but you got to already think about moving on from Glowinski. It's just his contract doesn't really allow you to next year. You kind of have to have him next season, and then you can cut him after year two. So
what happened to Glowinski?
He should have been our second best lineman.
Yeah, Isaiah Hodgins, keep him. Yep.
Yeah, keep Hodgins.
He's been good, man. He's a good scheme fit. He's definitely a scheme fit. And no, he's been good.
I think Hodgins, has been fine. I think they have to keep Slayton as well. I just don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be next year. If you keep Jones, you have to keep Slayton. But either way, Hodgins should be here because he cost you basically nothing to bring back. And you need weapons, and you don't know what the receiver room is going to look like next year. Will Odell be there? Will he not? Will we have a quarterback that's a rookie, or are we going to go veteran? Is it Tyrod Taylor? Who knows? So there's still a lot of questions there. But the first thing you have to have is a somewhat of an offensive line. You know your tackles are set. You know for now your center has got to be Nick Gates, so you're set there. Glowinski will hopefully improve, but it's been really, really bad. And we'll see what happens with Bredesen. So the foundation is there to build a good line for whoever the quarterback is, but this receiving room, it's like after Slayton and Hodgins, who is it? Because it ain't Richie James.
No.
Shepard going down in week 3 was huge. Galladay was hurt, or he was sick, whatever it was, and he wouldn't have done anything anyway. So
anyway, yeah.
Wandale being out is obviously really affecting us because he finally showed out and then got hurt.
Yep.
So it's just there's so many question marks on this team, and that's why even though we're in a playoff race, you got to be like bigger picture. But I'm also like, I really don't want to see them blow what was such a great start and collapse and not make the playoffs. Even though I know
make the playoffs after this game, I mean, that's a crusher because there's no excuse not to have made it, like with this opportunity that we had. But you would, if we don't make the playoffs, this will be the game that we look at going, we should have had it.
Yeah. If they finish with 8 wins and they go 8-1, right? I don't think they make it. You have to win 2 more. You have to beat Washington or maybe the Vikings. The Vikings didn't look invincible today against the Jets. Maybe you could sneak one out against them, but you got to beat the Colts and you got to beat Washington in 2 weeks, and then you're probably looking at a playoff berth. But the way we played today, I don't feel comfortable saying that we can beat anybody.
No. I think we can beat the Colts, but that'll be tough too. But I don't feel confident about any of these games. But we have to beat Washington and we have to beat the Colts to make the playoffs, I think. Because I don't think we're going to win the other ones. I don't think we're going to beat Minnesota. We're definitely not beating Philadelphia. Okay, Daniel Jones. No idea what to think about his game today. So here's some stats. He completed 25 to 31 attempts for 200 yards all in and a touchdown. He averaged 6.5 yards per pass. One of the passes was for 55 yards to Slayton, right? His other 24 completions were just for 144 yards all in, which is just an average of 4 yards per pass. So, I mean, it kind of says what I felt. It was a very safe game. Like, we didn't really want Jones to throw it downfield much apart from that one to Slayton, which was caught. And then that crazy set of play calling where they had 3 long bombs, one after the other. In the fourth quarter, when we actually, if there was one time we actually wanted to run the clock, would have been that. So we got very lucky. We got away with that. So Daniel Jones, stock up or stock down, especially after that fumble?
The fumble was inexcusable. It was ugly. He coughed it right up. And it's something that he's been a lot better at these last few years, especially after his rookie year. This year, especially, he's been very good at not giving the ball up. But that looked like 2019, 2020 Daniel Jones, just boom, pop, there goes the football. I think considering what this offense asked him to do, he did what they asked him to do. I just really want them to instead not do it in the fourth quarter, 3 straight plays. Let him air it out more the first half and in the third quarter. What do you have to lose? Because it's clear as day that this dink and dunk, let's play it safe, is only getting you 14 to like 20 points a game. It's not enough to win in the NFL unless your defense is historically good.
Yeah.
Let him air it out. Take those shots. Take those shots to Slayton. Let Hodgins run deep. You know, if Wandale was healthy, maybe
they did take the shots, but it was all 3 in a row.
Yeah, so why not spread it out? If you're going to take 4 shots, do it later in the, it's spread it out sporadically, 1 per quarter at least. Don't do 1 for 3 quarters and then go 3 in a row. And one was a drop, the other was asking for a flag, and the third one was nearly picked. So it's just very, very bad play calling. The whole game. Look at when he played. I don't know what Ronnie's talking about here. Oh, after the fumble? Okay, yeah, the turnover got in his head a little bit. I think he actually adjusted pretty well after that fumble. It was mainly in that fourth quarter where he just looked kind of lost. Like he was confused even with the play calling himself. It's like, what are we doing here?
I did get a feeling from Jones that he was going to lead us down the field. I don't know. Like, you could see an Eli Manning whenever it was a big drive coming up. He just had that steely determination in his eyes, like, right, we're going to ride with him. This special things are about to happen here. Jones looked, I don't know, I saw him at one point, we were just getting into overtime, he took his helmet off, and he looked completely spaced out or jaded or whatever. I looked at him and I felt, no, it's not happening. You could just tell in your eyes if you got that dog in you. And on this occasion, he didn't have it. He was just, I just didn't feel it from him. I don't know what it was, but he just looked a little bit lost. He looked completely lost, and I thought that the stats were kinder to him than his performance actually was. I think that he was very, very safe.
Yeah, it screams game manager with him. But we said it in our pre-show. We need to see this needs to be the start of your evaluation process, because you can't look at Daniel Jones the whole season and be like, yeah, we can't bring him back because you haven't really given him a fair shake. You could have had that today, especially in a game that was just all over the place. You could have used that overtime to be like, just throw it, just air it out, and just throw a few, even if you're throwing it 10 yards past the sticks. I'm not asking you to throw it 50 yards downfield every time, but take some deeper shots. Evaluate your quarterback fairly. And they're not doing that. It's just it's annoying. It's weird. He played flat. Yeah.
He played flat. That's it. That's a perfect description. He did feel.
Absolutely.
He played flat. He looked flat. There was he made a couple of really good runs with his legs, but I don't know. I didn't feel it from him at all.
No fight today. Yeah. The entire offense really had no fight. The defense did. I'll give them credit because they were gassed and they still made plays there in the fourth quarter and overtime to give us a chance to win. And the offense just didn't want to take it. No. That's what annoys me. I hate that because we know our defense is not that good in terms of what we're missing right now and overall talent. I think Leonard Williams got hurt. I don't know when exactly he came back.
He was out of the game for a while. Good long while.
Yeah, and so we're obviously down our number one corner and safety. I mentioned that earlier. We all know that. Who's injured. Darnay Holmes was injured. We're missing a lot of guys. And so when they give you opportunities, you have to seize it because they can give it right back, which they didn't do today until it was, 2 minutes left, and it took a fourth down prayer from Heineke to get Curtis Samuel to make that play, which is just an incredible play on their part. So they gave you chance after chance after chance, and you don't want to see it get squandered 5-6 times. It's not just like they squandered one opportunity. They squandered 3 or 4 in that fourth quarter alone. It was just, I've never seen it like this with the team like that. We thought was going to be much better coached.
I don't know what to think about Kafka, but I certainly wouldn't lose any sleep if he didn't come back next year, in my opinion. I know it sounds Mike Kafka. I wouldn't lose any sleep if he doesn't come back next year.
You talk about Jones because you're kind of cut out there for a second.
Oh, I was talking about Mike Kafka.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I wouldn't lose any sleep if Kafka doesn't come back next year. That's how bad the play calling's been last few weeks.
Yeah. Defense was pooped, says Ronnie. Yeah. They were tired. You're on the field for 41 minutes. You're going to be tired, man. Even if the weather is not too hot out there, it's freaking New Jersey in December. It's going to be cool, but you're running around for 40 minutes. You're going to be gassed. And they fought, and hey, they didn't give it up. They didn't give up the lead at least. They gave up they did, but they didn't give them the points to win it. And I thought they were going to. I thought once they tied it, I was like, it's over. And Washington's going to find a way to get the ball back and score, and they didn't. The defense would not let them do it. But it's something that we've been repeating left and right all show. Offense didn't want to do it. And that's just annoying because Washington kept giving you chances. They kept saying, we want you to win it. And then it was like I said at the start of the show, the Giants said, no, we want you to win it. So I don't know. Danny Dimes is Dave Brown.
Woo! Hi, Stacy. Game manager-esque. Very, very. I didn't see anything from Jones today, which gave me positive vibes for the future. I'll say that. It was just so random. It was hilarious. So for like 3.5 quarters, it was dink and dunk. That's all they trusted Daniel Jones to do. And then suddenly, with 1 minute and 46 seconds left, when we probably could do with running that clock down just to protect us and not get ourselves in trouble, they start heaving Hail Marys down the field. 3 in a row.
You mentioned You mentioned the spin that was straight out of Madden. That was play calling that you do against your friend when you're just like trying to. Have you ever played like to trophy hunt? I remember way back in like Madden 10, me and my friend were just trying to platinum the game. So we just like, okay, throw a Hail Mary and I'll make my defender just come off your receiver so you can get the catch. That's what it looked like. It was just throw it up and let's see what happens. And it was so annoying. It was video game stuff. And it's like Kafka said, oh, here's an idea. Let's go to shotgun Hail Mary on the play sheet. Like it was really weird. Well, sorry, I didn't want to skip over this from Ronnie. Defense tried to hold up. They did, and they did. Stacy said Dable doesn't trust Jones. That's something that Donald has been on for about the whole season. That they just don't really seem to trust him, and I don't know why. I mean, if you're going to play him every week, even if he doesn't do the job, trust him, because what do you have to lose? It's not like he's guaranteed to be back next year. So let him air it out. Just let your quarterback throw the ball. Poor management of time and timeouts. Yeah, that's what something touched on earlier.
Oh, my God. The timeout was just so like wasting 15, 20 seconds.
Which effectively cost you at least
overtime. When we knew that they were playing for the tie. We knew they were going to run the ball. Why you didn't call timeout, it will never make sense to me. It cost us minimum 30 seconds. Probably closer to about 45. You could have opened up your play sheet.
All you needed was about, 5 more yards, and Gano would have won the game.
Yep.
5 yards. That's all you needed. And those extra 20 seconds or whatever it was would have given you time to get 5 more freaking yards. Just so many things that you can point at. And it's
indecision. It's like indecision. It's like it felt like Dable didn't know whether to stick or twist. He didn't know it just feels like he doesn't trust this team to win games. He doesn't know what to do. Maybe he doesn't trust Daniel Jones, because normally an aggressive coach would be like, great, I've given my quarterback a ton of time to go and get us down the field. But poor Dable doesn't have Josh Allen anymore. So he's like, oh, no, I've got time on the clock. What could Jones do now to screw things up? That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's very, very confusing. Stacey Kafka is from the Eagles. That's the Bill crap that Wentz always did. Hail Mary. Yeah, makes sense. That is a very good comparison there. We see that a lot with Wentz.
Yeah, they did that. It was a second down, and they heaved it, and obviously they were hoping for a DPI, but it wasn't really a catchable ball, and it was, for me, it was just both guys kind of joshing, trying to get at the ball. There was nothing there, but it didn't feel like it was an actual attempt to try and catch the ball, because it wasn't really that catchable.
Right. And Ronnie says Dable has it tough. He's trying to prove he belongs here, at the same time trying to manage the cap and injustices he is letting. Well, the cap thing is on Joe Schoen, but I get what you're saying. It was supposed to be a transition year, rebuilding year. Let's just see what we have. And then you get to the hot start and you put yourself in a playoff chase. So now he's trying to – it's clear as day he's coaching differently because he wants to make the playoffs, because he knows – that even though we're not supposed to be anywhere close to a playoff berth right now, if you miss it after this start, they're going to eat you alive in New York. The fans probably won't, because I know you and I, we're not going to be pissed off, like screaming, fire Dable, he's a fraud.
No.
But the media in New York is going to eat him alive for that. And even though it's really not fair. So I do agree that he's got it a lot more tough. And Stacey, we all miss Eli Manning. I don't think there's a single Giants fan.
He's my boy.
I don't despise Daniel Jones like a lot of fans do. I want to see them trust him a little bit more, but it's clear as day. Eli Manning, he is not. We really did Eli such an injustice towards the end of his career, not building.
I still have nightmares about the way we treated him towards the end of his career by having him endure Eric Flowers at left tackle.
Eric Flowers at left tackle.
You saw how good he was when he had Odell Beckham towards the end of his career. His numbers shot right back up to his prime level.
2015 Eli.
The defense was all time bad because of Jerry Reese, And the offensive line was all-time bad because of Jerry Reese. And it was Jerry Reese that definitely cost us, Eli, a third championship and Tom Coughlin a third championship, because we more than had enough that year after we won the Super Bowl in 2011. I think there was easily one more in us over the next 3-year span, and just terrible management cost us. But we're going right back in time.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what we got. So let's have a look at our stats and our predictions. So Daniel Jones, Rob, you had Jones having 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 turnover.
What did he finish with?
I mean, damn near that. Let's get the box score up.
No, we'll do that right now. Daniel Jones finished with 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 turnover.
That's awesome, man. Good job. So I think you pretty much win that one. I had 230, I believe. No, I had 179, a strip sack, and an interception. So I was right about the strip sack, but and he did actually throw an interception. Luckily the guy dropped it. So, but okay. So I think you get the win for that prediction. Alex was way off with 230 yards passing and 56 yards rushing. I think he overestimates our offense.
He was close with the rushing.
He was right. Yeah, he had 41 yards for Saquon rushing, 25 yards receiving, right?
Yeah, that was Alex's?
Rob, you had 70 yards, and I had 90 yards and a touchdown.
He had 63 and a touchdown.
Well, I guess because I was the only one that said he was going to score a touchdown. I guess I get the win for that.
Yeah, and he had 18 yards in receiving, so he was closer to 90. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I had them getting at least 3 sacks. Rob, you had 1 sack. Alex had 2, so I win that. They got 5.
4.
We got 4. Okay.
Yeah. No, it was 5. Okay.
Yeah, it was 5. Yeah.
It was 5.
Okay. Rob, you had Rodarius Williams getting an interception.
Barely played.
Nope. I had Julian Love, so none of us get that. Alex had Hodgins with the most receiving yards. I had Slayton. Rob, you had Bellinger.
It was Darius Slayton.
Of course it's Slayton. Who else is it going to be?
If he didn't have that 55-yarder, it would have been Hodgins. And had he caught the other one, he still would have had the leading receiver. So giveth and taketh away.
So it's 3-1 me. 2 with 2 to go. Can Rob tie it up on the day?
I don't think so.
The first touchdown, Rob had Hodgins.
It was Saquon.
Alex had Bellinger. I had Saquon Barkley.
It was Saquon. I was so close. So close, but so far.
So it was a good week for me. 4-1. Then it all comes down to the score predictions. And we can maybe leave this up to the chat to decide how we do this one. Rob had the Giants winning 19-17. I had Washington winning 2017. So I got 20 right. So maybe half a point? Or the fact that none of us got the outcome right, do we both lose?
I don't think any of us can take a W for that. I mean, either way, you got the week in hand. I don't know how you judge a tie. I don't think I was ever expecting this.
No one would have had a tie.
Nonetheless, Donald gets the week. He bounced back, getting a win there. At least someone gets a W today because it wasn't the Giants and it wasn't the Commanders. Stacy, it definitely wasn't the coaching. Jerry Reese, who's also not a winner, is to blame for the stupid drafting. Absolutely. He was pitiful.
War crimes.
War crimes. 2012 to 17. Yeah, he was awful. Ronnie says this is on the last management team. Oh, yeah. The roster is Gettleman. I mean, I don't know. They're arguing. Okay. They're arguing with each other. I don't know what's going on here. We got an argument in the comments between, I don't know what they're arguing about. Are they blaming
I love
Reese?
Oh, Stacy, this one reminds me of 1997. Dave Brown and Danny Cannell. Oh my God, I feel sick thinking of them.
Danny Cannell was the quarterback when I first started watching, back when I was 6 years old.
Ronnie, I've been a fan and worked for the team for over 40 years. Ronnie, what was your role for the team? That's awesome.
Certainly not 12 years old, that's for sure.
But yes, of course I can remember. Of course I can remember Danny Cannell. I can remember the time where in the playoffs against the Vikings, when Danny Cannell was the quarterback and the Giants had almost a lead that was impossible to blow with a minute to go. And then we missed the Vikings going onside kick, and then I think it was Chris Callaway fumbled it, and the Vikings got it back and then kicked the game-winning field goal. It was a crushing loss, and I ran in the toilet crying. I remember that. I need to remember that one. Let's see if I can remember that playoff. If you guys can remember that playoff game, that was brutal for me. Rob, do you remember that one?
I was very, very young, so I don't think I remember it. But I remember some playoff failures, and I remember 2001 Super Bowl making me burst into tears. That's for sure. The cap is Gettleman's fault. Stacy's saying Ronnie Barnes, the trainer.
That's right. It was 1997.
I wasn't watching it. Yeah, it was the year before I started watching football.
That's right. That's right. I remember that one. That was one of the most brutal losses. Cunningham was the quarterback for the Vikings.
Wow.
I know. And Danny Cannell was our quarterback. That was some game. The Giants blew a 9-point lead, I believe, with 90 seconds left.
That's almost impossible to do, yeah.
Exactly. That's right. In a dizzying succession of misplays, ill-timed bounces, and penalties in the final 90 seconds, the Giants lost a 9-point lead in the space of a minute.
Oh, boy.
The Vikings scored a touchdown with a minute left, recovered the ensuing onside kickoff, and then used a pass interference penalty on Giants cornerback Felipe Sparks to set up the game-winning field goal with 10 seconds left in the game. Giants had a 16-point lead at halftime. Yeah, I remember that one. Okay, here we go. We've got a war here. I love it.
They're going after each other. Look, we didn't lose today. We didn't win, but, can't we all just get along? Jim Fossil. Yeah. This team is making the playoffs. He's right.
I was medical staff during the camps in the 70s and 90s. Wow. So you were medical staff during a couple of our championships.
Oh, so you got to work with Sims and LT and that amazing defense.
That's very, very cool. Well, I hope that you two have liked and subscribed to our podcast. That would be great.
Yes, absolutely. Please
do. I like Jim Fassel. Yeah. Jim Fassel was pretty good. Obviously got us on that Super Bowl run before we got whitewashed by Baltimore, but that was a fun year. We've had a lot of great years. But this one has been pretty great too, but not today. Not this week.
Certainly not today. But that is probably going to do it for us here. Discussed everything that needed to be discussed about this game, as ugly as it was. Thank you to Stacy. Thank you to Ronnie for popping in. Edgar just popped in here. So saludos, Edgar. Thank you for popping in here towards the end of the show. Blue City Empire was in here earlier. he mentioned something about drafting Anthony Richardson, which that could be a conversation for another day because probably till after the season we'll have to really wait and see where we are with the quarterback. But thank you to everybody for popping in. Hopefully we can let this one go for a little bit. As PTA Sports always says, you got 24 hours to vent after a Giants game, and then you move on to the next. So that's what we're going to do.
That's a very good way of putting it. We will have our preview show during the week, and then, of course, the game.
And that is what we usually do here. So thank you for watching once again. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe.
Thank you, Ronnie. Appreciate the support, my man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ronnie. And be sure to follow the links, follow the handles in the description to follow us on Twitter, follow Alex and Luca from the Boys in the Big Apple, which Donald is a part of as well. They do a great show every Monday night breaking down Giants games and Jets games. They talk baseball, they talk basketball, so be sure to tune into them and subscribe to their channel. That is going to do it for us here at Nerd Out Sports. Thank you all for watching once again. Let's go, G-Men. It's still all about Big Blue. We'll see you again soon. Peace out.
Salute.